After 40 years of wearing my wedding ring, I decided it was time to have it professionally cleaned. The jeweler examined it closely, his brow furrowing as he turned it over in his hands. His expression shifted, and when he glanced up, his words stopped me cold. "You shouldn't have this." The room seemed to constrict around me as I tried to make sense of his cryptic statement. "What do you mean I shouldn't have this?" I asked, my voice trembling. His hesitation only deepened my anxiety. He scrutinized the ring, narrowing his eyes at something almost imperceptible. When I leaned in to see, he pulled it slightly out of reach. The silence was unbearable. My heart pounded as questions swirled in my mind. It was just a cleaning, or so I thought. But the jeweler's reluctance cast a shadow over the mundane task, turning it into something ominous. When he finally handed the ring back, his parting words chilled me. "Be careful who you take this to." Once home, his warning echoed in my mind. I turned the ring over in my hands, trying to decipher what had unsettled him. For 40 years, it had been a constant presence, a symbol of my love and commitment. Now it felt foreign, as if I were holding a stranger's keepsake. Unable to shake the unease, I sought out a second opinion the next day. The new jeweler, a woman with a discerning eye, examined the ring carefully. Her silence was just as unnerving as the first jeweler's. When she finally spoke, her words struck a nerve. "This ring is unique," she said. She pointed out an engraving inside the band, barely visible to the naked eye. I peered through the magnifying glass she offered, my breath catching when I saw it. The delicate script etched into the gold revealed a date. But it wasn't my wedding date. It was a date that meant nothing to me. My hands trembled as I turned the ring over and over. How had I never noticed the engraving before? The jeweler's voice was gentle but firm. "It's unusual, almost like a custom mark only the original couple would request." Her words felt heavy, stirring doubts I hadn't dared to entertain. At home, I pored over old photo albums, searching for any image of the ring that might explain the mysterious date. Each page brought me back to the joy of our wedding day, but none held the answers I sought. Frustrated and desperate, I left a voicemail for John, my husband, asking him to call me back. The hours stretched unbearably as I waited for his reply. My mind raced with possibilities. Was it a mistake? A forgotten detail? Or something more significant? The date gnawed at me, its presence both foreign and intrusive. Finally, John called back. His voice was warm, but my words stumbled out in a rush. "John, the ring? You never told me about the engraving. There's a date inside, and it's not our wedding date." The pause on the other end was deafening. When he spoke, his tone was measured, cautious. "What date are you talking about?" I could hear the tension in his voice, mirroring my own. I read the date aloud, my heart pounding as I waited for his response. There was another pause, longer this time, before he spoke. That's the day I bought the ring," he said slowly. "But I didn't have it engraved." His words unraveled me further. If John hadn't added the engraving, who had? And why? The ring, once a simple token of our love, now felt like a riddle I was unequipped to solve. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake the feeling that the ring carried a history I didn't understand. It became a weight I wasn't sure I wanted to bear. John and I talked late into the night, retracing every step of how the ring came to be ours. As the mystery deepened, so did my determination to uncover the truth. The ring, once a source of comfort and pride, had become a question mark in the story of my life. Whatever secrets it held, I knew I wouldn't rest until they were revealed. I paced the living room, the uncertainty gnawing at me. What if this engraving meant something more than I was ready to uncover? What if it opened the door to secrets long buried? I wasn't sure I could handle the answers, but the thought of leaving it alone, letting it fester in my mind, seemed even worse. That night, I sat alone in our darkened living room, the ring heavy in my hand. I turned it over and over, feeling its familiar shape, but seeing it in a new light. Could I face whatever truth this engraving held? The silence was thick, each tick of the clock a reminder that I was running out of time to figure it out. I reached into a drawer and pulled out an old magnifying glass. Holding the ring under the light, I examined the inscription more closely. The date still gnawed at me, but then I noticed something new. Initials underneath the date. My heart skipped a beat. What did these initials stand for? They added another layer to the mystery. I squinted at the tiny letters, my pulse quickening. They weren't mine, and they weren't John's either. The initials were completely foreign to me. How could this be? My confusion thickened, blending with a rising sense of dread. Whoever these initials belonged to, they held the key to the secret behind the engraving. I needed to find out their meaning. A chill ran down my spine as the reality of the situation started to sink in. There was no mistaking it now. This ring, the symbol of my marriage for 40 years, had a history I knew nothing about. The initials and the unfamiliar date were undeniable clues that something was very wrong. I felt the ground shifting beneath my feet. Standing alone in my living room, the full weight of the jeweler's revelation hit me like a freight train. This ring wasn't made for me. It wasn't made for us. The once sacred symbol of our union now felt like a stranger on my finger. Each second added to the hollow sensation in my chest, as if my life was being rewritten before my eyes. My heart pounded in my chest as pieces fell into place. John had another life before me, one he never mentioned. Why had he kept such a significant secret? The silence of the house seemed more oppressive as I grappled with this new reality. It was hard to believe that my husband of 40 years had concealed something so important. Could this ring have belonged to someone else? Another wife? Another lifetime that John kept hidden? The thought gnawed at me, fraying the edges of my sanity. I looked at the ring, scrutinizing every inch of it as if it might offer some explanation. But it was silent, a mute witness to secrets I had never imagined. Another marriage? My chest tightened at the thought, and the room seemed to close in on me. Each breath I took felt strained, as if the very walls of my home were now complicit in this deception. The idea that John could have had another marriage was something I couldn't easily dismiss. Questions swirled in my mind, each one darker than the last. I tried to breathe, but the air felt thick and suffocating. Why would John keep this from me? The question looped in my mind without an answer. If this ring wasn't meant for me, what did that say about our entire relationship? My thoughts spiraled, each one a thread leading back to John's inexplicable secrecy. Did he give me someone else's ring, or was it some kind of cruel mistake? I paced the room, clutching the ring like it might offer answers. The more I pondered, the more elusive the truth became. The ring, instead of providing clarity, only brought more questions. Each step I took only deepened my uncertainty. How long had he been lying? 40 years, our whole marriage, and I never suspected a thing. Every shared moment, every intimate conversation now felt tainted. The ring, a constant companion for decades, was now a symbol of betrayal. I felt the weight of wasted years pressing down on me, making it hard to breathe. I thought about calling him again, demanding answers, but I couldn't. Not yet. My hand hovered over the phone, but the dread of what he might say held me back. I wasn't ready to confront him, not until I had more information. The uncertainty gnawed at me, but I knew I needed to handle this carefully. I need to know more. There has to be an explanation. Maybe there was something I had overlooked, some piece of the puzzle that would make everything fall into place. My mind raced as I combed through memories, searching for any hint that could explain this mystery. I wasn't going to let this lie unravel my life without understanding why. Something I'm missing, something crucial. The next few days were a blur of restless nights and strained silence. Every small noise made me jump, and my dreams were plagued by half-formed images of betrayal. The house, usually a sanctuary, now felt like a labyrinth of secrets. Each day felt heavier than the last as I searched for answers. I dialed John's number, heart racing with every ring. When he didn't answer, I bit my lip, feeling the void his absence left. His voicemail clicked on, and I hung up, unable to find the courage to leave another message. Each attempt drained me, my resolve wavering. The vast distance between us felt insurmountable, amplifying my doubts and fears. When John finally answered, I avoided mentioning the ring. "How's your trip?" I asked, forcing a casual tone. He chatted about meetings and dinners, his voice light and unsuspecting. Listening to him talk, every word felt twisted, drenched in falsehoods. How could he sound so normal, so innocent? My mind screamed that nothing was as it seemed anymore. Enough was enough. When John returned, I would confront him, ring in hand. 40 years of marriage demanded honesty, and I deserved answers. The mystery had tainted every shared memory, twisted every moment of joy into suspicion. I hardened my resolve, determined to face whatever truth lay hidden in that tiny, inscribed band. There could be no moving forward without clarity. Days dragged on, each minute feeling like an hour. The more time passed, the more unbearable the weight of my secret became. This heavy knowledge pulled me deeper into a pit of uncertainty, a place where trust and love felt like distant memories. Finally, the day arrived. John came home, walking through the door with the same familiar smile. John's smile warmed the room, but I couldn't reciprocate. Dinner was a tense, silent affair, filled with unspoken words and heavy glances. After we finished eating, I took his hand, leading him to the living room. Sitting him down, I pulled the ring from my pocket, the cool metal sending a shiver through me. It was time to face the truth. "Where did you get this?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my efforts to stay strong. John's eyes widened at first, confusion painting his face. Then, a flicker of recognition. His pupils dilated slightly, a telltale sign that he knew exactly what I was pointing out. That tiny shift in his expression confirmed my worst fears. He knew something. John's face turned pale, his calm demeanor crumbling. "I can explain," he began, his voice shaky. But it was too late. The foundations of our relationship had already started to shatter. I clutched the ring tightly, desperate for a clear, honest answer. Yet, his hastily spoken words only deepened the rift that had begun to form between us. The weight of the unspoken truth loomed large between us, making the air feel dense and suffocating. Whatever explanation John could offer seemed insufficient. The cracks in our marriage were already forming, threatening to split wide open. 40 years of shared life now felt uncertain, fragile, and exposed. The ring in my hand was an undeniable testament to a hidden betrayal. Nothing could mend the fractures spreading through my heart. John tried to speak, his words catching in his throat, but my mind was a whirlwind. I couldn't focus on his explanations. The initials and date haunted me with every passing second. They were a puzzle I needed to solve, a mystery that had become too clear to ignore. Those initials and the unknown date were like ghosts, haunting my every thought. Desperation clawed at me as I demanded clarity, my voice rising. Each word he spoke faltered, died with guilt. His eyes reflected a truth he couldn't hide. That guilt, so raw and evident, was the confirmation I dreaded. My worst fears had come to life, inescapable and undeniable. John's voice cracked as he admitted, "The ring wasn't meant for you. The engraving is from a past relationship, a significant one I kept secret." His words hung heavily in the air, each one a blow to my spirit. My hands trembled and my mind raced, trying to fathom the weight of his confession. A secret relationship? How could he have hidden something so monumental for so long? John's revelation left me stunned. The ring belonged to someone I was deeply in love with, he confessed, his eyes filled with regret. My mind raced, trying to reconcile this new piece of information with the life we had built together. Each memory seemed tainted now, a lie that lasted 40 years. How could he live with this deception? The enormity of his betrayal was overwhelming. I took a deep breath and confronted him. Why didn't you ever tell me? Why give me someone else's ring? John's gaze wavered, and he stumbled over his words, offering excuses that felt hollow and insincere. I didn't think it would matter, he muttered, eyes cast down. His attempts to justify his actions only deepened the chasm of betrayal. Trust shattered, and I was left grappling for understanding. The betrayal cut me deeper than I ever thought possible. This wasn't just an error. It was an intentional deceit. For 4 decades, I wore a symbol of love that was meant for another woman. The weight of this truth was crushing, suffocating me with every breath. How could he deceive me for so long? Each moment of our marriage now felt like a fragment of a shattered illusion. The ring that once symbolized our love was now tainted with another woman's memory. I stood up, the weight of the betrayal pressing down on me. The room seemed to spin as emotions surged through me, anger, sadness, confusion. I clutched the ring, a symbol now corrupted. My legs felt weak, but I needed to stay strong. Facing this betrayal was the hardest thing I had ever done. John reached out, trying to offer some form of comfort, but I pulled away, unable to bear his touch. 40 years of trust had shattered in an instant. "Don't touch me," I whispered, my voice breaking. The man I thought I knew had been hiding a tremendous secret, and now every piece of our shared life felt like it was built on a lie. I needed space to think. I needed time to think, to process the enormity of his betrayal. Without another word, I turned and left the house, seeking solace in the quiet night. The cool air felt like a balm to my burning thoughts. Wandering aimlessly, I tried to make sense of the situation. How could I move forward? The ring's betrayal had rewritten our history, and I needed to find a way to cope. As I walked, I thought about our marriage, our life together, and the foundation built on what I believed was mutual trust. Now, everything felt like a lie. Each step echoed with memories, now tinged with doubt and betrayal. Could we ever rebuild this shattered trust? The path ahead seemed unclear, a labyrinth of emotions and questions without answers. What was real, and what was just a carefully constructed facade? In search of clarity amidst the chaos, I decided to visit the jeweler one more time. Entering the quiet shop, I hoped to gain some final confirmation about the ring's origin. The jeweler looked at me with understanding eyes as he examined the ring again. His confirmation of the ring's true history left no room for doubt. The reality was brutal but necessary. I needed to know the full truth. Returning home, I prepared to face John again. The truth had been unveiled, and it couldn't be ignored. It was time to decide our future, whether to rebuild or let go. Our marriage had been shaken to its core, and whatever path we chose, the betrayal was a part of our story now. I stepped into the house, feeling the weight of the decision ahead, ready to confront the reality of our life.